A new report out this morning on corruption in New Zealand and the Pacific suggests organised crime is not only present in New Zealand and corrupting officials here, but expanding. Joining us now is Steve Simon, Chair of the Ministerial Advisory Group on Organised Crime, appointed by Casey Costello. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good to have you on the show. I've had a read of this report, and there are examples that you go through, you know, your baggage handlers being corrupted and the drugs coming in. Is this, you know, a few examples spread over a few years? Are you saying we have a major problem with corruption, or do we not have enough information, enough data?
Both. I can say that because when we talk to the most senior police officials, the most senior customs officials who are dealing with those cases on a day-to-day basis, they say the vast majority of large-scale drug imports that are coming through are being facilitated by an insider. So that means if we see a news story today of a large-scale drug import at Auckland Airport or Tauranga Port, most likely that's been done by the use of an insider.
How do they get contact with that insider?
How do
the organised crime groups get in contact with these border officials in New Zealand and corrupt them? How does that work?
They're following a pattern which has been used overseas. So a lot of what we're seeing is looking at what happened to Australia some 10 years ago and watching crystal ball gazing as to what's going to happen here. They will approach those who are in trusted positions, such as baggage handlers or other people who can work in customs controlled areas. They'll approach them outside of their work. They will offer them money, and often if those are people who are in trusted but low paying jobs, they're very vulnerable. And then they'll use that to, in the same way as you would see with any other type of organised crime, slowly influence that person until they can use their position to their advantage.
You talk in the report about a whole bunch of recommendations to deal with this. You say, you know, we're not taking it seriously enough. We're kind of in this false sense of security where we think we're, you know, unbribable. Yeah. But what about money? I mean, you mentioned the main motivation from reading this report seems to be monetary.
Yes.
Are our customs officials paid enough? They're amongst the lowest paid of all government departments. Would that help?
Certainly, one tool would be paying people more in the jobs that are valuable at the border, recognising the role that they play. But there's a fiscal reality to that. What we also need to do is kind of have a complete response. So what we need to do is look at the way we vet people going into those jobs, have ongoing vetting to make sure that they're not becoming more vulnerable, say a change in life circumstances. And we also need to limit the opportunities they have, take away the risk that they might use their access card to get into a controlled area or give that to a friend. Limit those opportunities so we can reduce the risks of crime happening.
For those people who are watching this morning and thinking, this guy is overcooking this, you know, we're amongst the safest on the corruption index. What do you say to them?
I've been a Crown prosecutor for 20 years. I'm working on a committee with John Timms, who was our Deputy Commissioner of Police. We've got a team that's working together who have dealt with this for a very long time, and what we're seeing now is some of the worst it's ever been. We're seeing ourselves go from number 1 on the corruption index, trending down to number 4 and continuing to trend downward. We're seeing our wastewater results peaking to results we've never seen before. So when we hear and talk to people like our police commissioner, who tells us from his experience working in Interpol in Europe, and he said, New Zealanders are naive to this threat. He's probably right, and so we're starting to see that.
Appreciate your time this morning. Thanks so much for coming in. That's the Steve Simon, Chair of the Ministerial Advisory Group on Organised Crime. This is the group that Casey Costello set up to advise her on actions to crack down on organised crime. This is their third report out this morning.